Like there's just going to be this defining moment period where everything changes.
Because that's the movie.
That's the movie. And it's not real, is it? I've had moments, but it's never been like that was it, and I've never been the same again.
No, this is life.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about, man. Like life is not a movie. It's not a movie where you have one breakthrough and like you just taking off. No, man.
Didn't you have to do Hell Week 3 times?
Yeah, so
why?
How that happened was, once again, this is where the war really began.
Okay.
So now I'm in SEAL training, and I'm like almost in awe, because I'm like, my God, I'm around the baddest men on the planet from what I thought back then. But once you are able to get in the doors, you realize they're just fucking men. And that's when I realized, okay, this is good for me to see, man. They're fucking like me. I had to work a little harder to get here, but now that I'm on the same playing field as them, let's fucking go to war, guys. So how it happened was, there was a guy there at the command officer of BUD/S was Captain Bowen. He was an old crusty Vietnam vet, and he had a different way of doing shit. And basically, no matter where you're at in training, if you failed something, he was going to roll you back to day one, week one. We had guys who were 2 weeks from graduation, 6-month program, that got rolled back to day one, week one. They didn't have to go through Hell Week again, but they got rolled back to phase one, day one of phase one, but they skipped Hell Week. For me, I got rolled back in first phase 3 times. First phase where Hell Week is at. And how it happened was, since I was a reservist, that also fucked me.
Okay.
So I had a double fuck on my ass. So basically, Hell Week was, I think, the 3rd or 4th week when I was going through. And it starts on Sunday, ends on Friday. I get there, and I had fucked up shin splints, stress fractures, double pneumonia. So I get rolled back to day one, week one. And I got to start Hell Week again. I didn't complete that Hell Week. So now, I get to my second class, day one, week when I'm going through. I get through Hell Week, happy as shit. But when I was in Hell Week, I actually broke my kneecap. And I'm thinking, I'm not getting rolled again, dude. And I really talk about this really good in the book, but I'll go through the highlights here. So I'm toughing it out. Like, I'm gonna go through BUD/S with a fucking broken knee. And my stress fractures are on fucking fire. But I'm going through. So now I have to do this, we have this knot tying test after Hell Week. And you gotta tread water. And when you're treading with a broken kneecap, and I'm negative buoyant, so I'm using everything to stay up. And you gotta go down and tie your knots. My kneecap is going in and out, and I'm like, fucking, so I talk about this in the book. So now I'm up on the pool deck, and I talk about it good, whatever. But here we are now, I realize now I can't get through this. Like my knee now from that pool session is like fucking a basketball. So I realize I go back, they x-ray and say, look, man, your shit's done. Your patella is done. So I now go in to Captain Bowen, and I don't want to get rolled again. And Captain Bowen looks at me and says, basically, we're going to let you come back. Captain Bowen and another guy, this other guy that I don't even mention, kind of wants me to mention him. If it wasn't for this guy, I want to miss his name so bad. You know what I'm talking about, but I want to miss his name so bad. He actually talked to him a couple months ago. This is the guy that made this happen. He broke rules, I believe, to make this happen.
Okay.
Because I wasn't supposed to come back for a 3rd time.
Okay.
Like, this is like inhumane. In 1 year, go through another Hell Week. So I'm sitting there in front of Captain Bowen, and Captain Bowen's like, look, man, we're going to let you come back in class 235. This is class 231. With a broken kneecap, look it up, man. Like, that's not a lot of time.
That's what I'm thinking.
So this was in May. I classed up again in January. I had stress fractures. Stress fractures don't heal that quick, man. Especially when you beat them up. So I had that much time to heal, and that's it. My last time to go through Navy SEAL training. So I come back, and I'm now in my 3rd Hell Week. We had a guy die in my 3rd Hell Week from pulmonary edema. As you know, San Diego gets fucking cold, especially in February, March. That water temperature, the Pacific is never warm. He ended up dying. So I get to, and so Hell Week ended on Thursday morning because he died.
Okay.
So it ended about 30 hours early. But what happened with me was, as I said, Hell Week starts on Sunday. Usually you don't swell up until about Wednesday. My body said, oh shit, man, we're back. On Monday, 24 hours into it, man, I'm the Pillsbury Doughboy. My stress fractures, I'm blown up. So I'm going through Hell Week like fucking done. But I'm like, I can't quit. This is my last time going through. I can't get rolled. So I get through Hell Week, and this is where the shit gets fucking evil, man. This is where I start to click into something. When your mind, this is this whole 40% rule shit I talk about all the time that I made up a long time ago. I started making it up through pain.
Tell them what that is. Where'd you go?
So basically, the 40% rule is I am a strong believer that we quit. Because why? How the fuck does a 297-pound cockroach guy who quit on everything is now considered one of the best men on the planet? How is that possible? It means I had to change one thing, my mindset. So there's no way in hell that was in me, but that guy was in me. When that guy came down here and said, hey, guess what, man? You're a fat ass, but I'm gonna now make you a badass. I'm gonna miracle this shit to be a badass. No, it was in me. I had to believe and make that belief work. And through hard work, I did that. So the 40% rule is like we have like a car. Some cars have a governor on it. And when you get to like 92 miles an hour, that car will start doing this because it can't go any faster. Those cars that don't have governors on, like a fast ass whatever, Porsche or whatever, that motherfucker bury it, gone. We have that ability in this, but we have put this governor on our minds. And you have to, the factory that put the governor on that car, the factory is now you. That put that shit in your fucking mind. You gotta take that motherfucker off. Until you take it off, you're gonna constantly get to 92 miles an hour and do this. Because you ain't going faster. As a matter of fact, you might even go slower. So basically, I started realizing this through my life, through going through all these times. So now I get through Hell Week. We ended like 30 hours early. And now we're in Walk Week. After you get through Hell Week, you have Walk Week. And Walk Week is when you're basically just walking around to heal up your body. And I Walk Week ended early because the instructors were pissed off. A guy dies. But the instructors are mad that we didn't finish a complete Hell Week. But I already had a complete Hell Week already.
Of course.
Because I already gone through one already. So now I'm sitting there thinking, man, I went through fucking 1.5 of these. Now I have like 2.5 of these motherfuckers. And now I'm getting my ass kicked because now the instructors are mad that our class didn't complete a full Hell Week. And like we're not getting a pass. So they said, Roger that. They shut Walk Week down on like Tuesday. So everybody that was injured, because the Hell Week was very different than most of them, they had us on our feet the whole time, rucking, doing nothing but rucking, in and out of the water. It was brutal. So it was a much harder Hell Week than the other ones I was in. So anyway, my legs were broken. I'm sitting thinking, how the fuck now there's no Walk Week, I can't heal. So my idea was this. I'm gonna have to leave my house early, because I lived off base. And I left early. I got to my dive cage where we had duct tape. So I put my black sock on about 4 o'clock in the morning. Put a black sock on, and what I did was I got duct tape. So you know, whenever you move your ankle, it causes your shin to hurt if you have any issue up here. So what I did was I casted with duct tape. So I put the duct tape over the sock, and so the sock kind of protected it to give it a little cushion. I duct taped it as tight as I could, and right here at the pivot point, it created a huge pressure ulcer because your ankle still wants to move. So that tape would just dig in there. So I did that every single day because my stress fractures were just killing me. So I ran pretty much for the first 45 minutes, the most excruciating pain of my life. God. And so, but basically after 45 minutes, my legs would go numb. And when they go numb, you don't feel this shit anymore. So I went through buds like this. So now, the fucked up thing about it,
my gosh, man,
is I get to third phase, and for some reason, man, I healed my stress fractures.
Really?
And to this day, I haven't had them ever since.
Wow.
But I literally, from running, and I'm not saying don't do this, but people go, how did you get through it? By the time I got to third phase, which is like maybe 3.5 months later, when I went to third phase, my stress fractures were healed.
That's crazy.
And I ran on them. And people say, was it shin splints? No, motherfucker. I had x-rays. They were breaks in my legs.
Man.
So, and I'm not saying do that.
Yeah.
But because it's very painful.
Well, most people aren't willing to go to a point where they get their body to the point where it gets numb.
Right.
And you were, right?
And people say, why did you do that? Is either that or not become a Navy SEAL.
Do you think, can I ask you a question about Navy SEALs?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. You've been to 3 Hell Weeks, which is just, as you hear this, it's bananas. Do you know, do you have any insight what the difference is for someone who finishes and doesn't? Because I've heard you say, I respect guys who didn't finish it too, right? So is there some separators, or do your ability just go away when the pain happens, or what is it?
There's only one separator, man. And anybody, not just Navy SEALs, but anybody that can accomplish anything that is hard. The only separator is that they really want to be there. There's some people that get inspired, and that inspiration moves them to try to do something. But the inspiration is very high right now in this nice environment. We're in a nice environment. The ocean's out there. I'm talking to you. If I want to go to the fucking refrigerator and get something to drink, eat, I can. I watch a movie about some badasses, you're inspired. But the second you're not in this environment and you're actually doing what inspired you, that suck factor is now real. You can't just get off your fucking couch and get a fucking shake or get a fucking box of donuts or turn the TV or go take a shit or a piss or go get your girlfriend to cuddle up. No, you're now there. And only those people who have been there 1,000,000 times in their minds and have lived in that water and have suffered 1,000,000 times and realize my legs may break, my knee may break, my bones will hurt. I will be the coldest I've been in my life. I will be miserable and accept that. Because what happens is when you get in a horrible situation in life, your mind, I call it my 1-second decision. When you get in a horrible situation in life, your mind immediately says, get the fuck out of here. Everybody's does, even if you want to be there. But it starts to have all these different questions in your mind in that 1 second. And it says, okay, why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why this? Why that? And then you start to say to yourself, if you don't want to be there that bad, I have a beautiful wife at home, man. Why the fuck am I doing this, man? Like, this is stupid. This is going to get these guys injured. Like they're going to pay for this for the rest of their lives. I'm not going to break my body up to do this. Your mind starts to say, yeah, this is stupid. But if you are already knowing that this is going to happen to you, you have all the answers to these questions that your mind starts to give you when you're in suffer mode.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized.
You true that's your visualization of those moments over and over?
Over and over again. You have to be there but not there at the graduation.
Okay.
You got to be there in the worst parts
suffering
that you know over and over again. You got to live that in your mind.
Do you like suffering, or do you just deal with suffering? Real answer.
Real answer?
Yeah.
I like to see... Real answer, I like to get a bunch of men together.
Okay.
Men that are the hardest of the hard. And I want to be with these men. And I want to see them suffer. Because I'm suffering right along with you, but I want to see me get through it. I want to see what you're made of. I want to see, like, almost like the Colosseum in Rome. Let's fucking go to the fucking Colosseum. And the only way to see who the baddest motherfucker is to suffer. You can't do it by writing a paper. So let's go. Because why? What I found out through my life was I thought of myself as some weak little bitch kid. And what I found out, and the only message I want to get across to people is once you change one thing, your mindset, you can attack everything. And I find it fascinating. I'm fascinated. Because I'll be in these moments. I put these guys on some fucking pedestal.
Yeah. Which people do with you.
They do with me, and they shouldn't. And I was this guy who was a piece of shit looking at these, oh my God, how are you guys this amazing? But once I worked my way up there, I said, my God, man, we can all compete, motherfucker. Let's go. So do I like suffering? I like suffering in the way that is competitive.
Yep.
That brings out the absolute best in me and in everybody else. So like I want to see a man be defeated. I want to see a man get broken and say, fuck you. I love these men. These men I love, but there's very few of them. There's very few of them. And there's very few that are willing to go there more than once. A lot of people, even people who've gone through special ops, it kicks the shit out of them to a point where in their mind, what got me bad in pararescue was when I was going through it, I said, I'm only going to do this one time. And so many people in special ops, where they believe it or not, in anything, fuck special ops in anything, that's hard, I'm only doing this one time. Once you say that, you fucked yourself.
The truth, I got to tell you, off camera, you and I were talking about something. Now we're going to go to something cool.
Okay.
Well, we've been in something cool, but like I work with a lot of athletes when they get out of their career. They made this massive sacrifice all their life to get to the NFL. They make that thing happen. They're only willing to do it once.
Right.
And when that's over, their identity's set on that thing forever. And they just repeat the stories from that time over and over.
That's right.
And I watch them have such a difficult second half of their life. I try to help them with that. I've watched it with business people. And you and I were talking off camera. So I've started to uncover with me the last couple years that I've been on social media and teaching these things. And if you gave me that mirror test the last couple years,
right,
that accountability mirror, when I look in it, I'm starting to look at a dude who used to do some crazy shit that was cool in his life, really accomplished some things. And all these accolades, people follow you, they listen to you, they think you're something special. You have that, I have that. Clearly the differences in our lives are too vast to even mention what you've achieved. The things you've overcome are completely different than mine. But I'm starting to realize something about myself that I want to give the audience a gift of, and I want you to talk about it. You know what? I've just accepted. I'm only going to be happy when I'm grinding for something.
That's right.
I'm only going to be happy when I'm growing. I don't want to talk about stuff I used to do. I want to do something great with my life. I don't know that I can get to the mental level you have, but I think everybody here needs to know something. If you just think you're going to do something temporarily once, man, you're going to be unhappy when it's over.
That's right.
How about you right now? When you look in the mirror right now, so Goggins looks in the accounting mirror today, what does he see, and what are your thoughts about that?
So, same with you. What happened with me was like, so who I was this nobody guy. And I created this Goggins. And that Goggins, there's David Goggins and there's Goggins. David Goggins is a calm, cool guy that sits back. Used to be weak kid. Now he's just a normal guy. Goggins is a guy that is willing to tape up his legs to go after it. In that book, you read about David Goggins and also Goggins. What I realized in my life is that Goggins is who I love. Goggins is who I created. My dad created David Goggins. I created Goggins. So what's happened with me, and since Can't Hurt Me came out, and since I got on social media, which is why I fucking don't like social media, which is why I'm not on there very much, which is why I give people one time, I have to do me. I have to do me. So people get it fucking twisted, man. I am who I am. What's in that book is me. So now what they see is this guy who's trying to get people to get off their fucking ass. That just happened to happen, man. I didn't set out. When I set out to be a fucking SEAL and set out to go to Ranger School and all this other shit I did and break records, I didn't set out to fucking please motherfuckers.
Right.
I didn't set out to say, hey, pay me now. I got a great fucking story. Fuck that. And I realize now that my life has kind of gotten to a point where people know me, I have followers and whatnot. The biggest depression of my life is you get caught up into helping so many people out, and it's great, and I love that, but you lose yourself in all of that shit.
Truth.
It literally, and people go, man, but my God, like you're changing. I get all that shit, man. But what the fuck is motivating you in that book? What's motivating you is the fucking stories I'm telling you about what I did in my life. Once I stop living that, I'm no more.
Yes.
I am not the fucker that you are now being motivated from. So right now in the mirror, I now got back to Goggins. I'm now back to running 100 miles a week. I'm now back to getting the fuck. I saw and I talk to my girl about it all the time. you travel, you speak, you all this shit. It's all fucking great and dandy for most people. I'm Goggins. What makes me is the dungeon. And people are, well, oh my God, like they're gonna hear this, my God, you don't have any peace in your life. Don't get it fucking twisted. Weak people who hear me get all fucking poopy pants about how I talk. So be it. What changed me was I had to be hard on myself.
Yep.
And I have to continue to grind myself into a fine dust.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's where I feel good. I feel like I accomplished something. If things come easy, it's not fun. I must fail at something repeatedly. It has to haunt me. And then once I complete it, I feel like I accomplished something. I don't want to set out and say, oh, there's an A. We're good.
Right.
It's fucking stupid. No. I want to turn it in a million times and say you fail. You fail. And I'll say, okay, roger that. And sit there and analyze what I'm doing wrong. Go to these places that people don't go to anymore because all this fucking social media shit and everything's computerized. I want to go to that dark place in my mind and say, okay, how are we going to get this done?
Yep. I think the right people are happy when they're challenged by something. Like when they're pursuing something, when they're challenged, like when they're not where they could be.
Right.
When they're not who they could be.
Right.
And you and I were talking about this off camera. It's like, I just want everybody to understand this. This is from two people who are sort of in this space. We love helping people. We love making a difference. But what makes us make a difference is the pursuit of who we've been becoming, these challenges, you and all the different ways you have, and me in my way, and millions of people in their way too. Like, I don't want people to think, I just want to get to a place and cool it. Because you get to that place and cool it, I think you're going to be miserable. You've got to still find somewhere. And I want to kind of go in your head a little bit because I've not lived this and very few people have lived this. I want to take you back there for a minute, and then at the end I'm going to ask you what that thing looks like next for you. Okay. But so this whole thing that you did, you get out. I can't cover the whole military thing because I want them to read the book, right? But then you're like, hey, you really never done any of this before, but this is sort of the formula of what we're talking about. Then the military thing ends, and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna do the Badwater 135.
My cardio was 20 minutes every Sunday on the elliptical trainer.
Okay.
That was it.
That is it.
So I'm looking at all these different races, and one comes up, number one, the hardest race in the world, Badwater 135. 135-mile race through Death Valley. I'm like, that sounds fucking nuts. But it didn't describe that it was a couple day race. I'm thinking, okay, that has to be like a fucking 7-day race. Because I don't know people who run like that. So I ended up calling Chris Kosman up. Chris Kosman is the race director of Badwater. And he lives out here in California. He's like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, Chris. I called him up in the first conversation. I actually have all the emails in my book from him going back. He's a fucking stickler, man. I'll tell you that. So I called him up and said, hey, man, I'm going to do this race. He's like, have you ever run 100 miles before? I'm like, no. He goes, well, to get my race, you have to do a 100-mile race. And you got to do 100 miles in 24 hours or less. There was only 2 more races I could do before the deadline dropped. And so I'm like, he goes, you live in San Diego, right? I'm like, yeah. This was Wednesday. I call him up on a Wednesday morning. He goes, well, there's a race on Saturday. And it's called the San Diego One Day at Hospitality Point in San Diego, where you run around a 1-mile track for 24 hours and see how many miles you can get. So I'm like, fuck it, man. This guy's kind of calling me out. I'm going to get this shit done. I'm a SEAL. I'm a badass. Been through Ranger School and shit. I got this. Hardest thing I did in my entire life, dude, was this one race. So I go.
Harder than getting through.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
I was not prepared.
Okay.
At all. So I go. I sign up for the race. I show up. I'm this big bodybuilder looking guy.
Yeah.
Shirt off, black hat on, and I set out. So every mile, I'm gonna see this blue lawn chair. I had Ritz crackers and Mileplex. That was my fucking nutrition, man.
Yeah.
No water, no nothing.
No water?
No. Ritz crackers and Mileplex, dude.
Come on.
I fucking, 'cause I never drink water on runs and shit. I fucking didn't know about all this shit. So I go out there and I'm running. I get through 50 miles. I'm gonna cut to the chase because I detail it really well in the book. I get going. I sit down at mile 70. And buddy, I hadn't sat down yet. I sit down and everything falls the fuck apart. Literally, man, I'm like peeing blood down my leg. I have some crap coming out of me, and I got 30 fucking miles to go. And I'm in the worst shape of my entire life. And so I won't get too deep into it, man, but I end up going back through my cookie jar, and I talk about, my cookie jar is basically something I invented about. We forget how badass we are when we're suffering. Because our mind just stays right there in suffering. The cookie jar is a reminder. You know how your mom used to have the cookie jar, you don't know what kind of cookie you're going to get, but it may be oatmeal raisin, maybe chocolate chip meat, because she dumps them in that motherfucker. You just grab one and go. Yeah. So my cookie jar is the things I've accomplished, failed at, didn't fail at, just kept on grinding through. So I take this 1 second, I calm down, so I realize, okay, man, I got to be able to just stand up first, come all dizzy and lightheaded, and I go through this process. And I said, I might quit, but not yet. I go, this is the worst shit in my life. So I said I might quit because when you're not going to quit something, you got 30 miles to go, your mind's spazzing. Like, I'm fucked up. Like 30 miles is a long way to go. Just fresh. I've already gone 70. I'm the worst shit in my life. I'm like, okay, so I'm giving my mind some space. Because if you don't give it space, it's just going to freak out. Okay. So I'm saying, I'm going to quit, but let me just sit here for a second and drink some water. Now I'm drinking water. I have my crew going over to get some fucking, nutrition, some food for me. I'm getting better. So now I stand up, like, wow, I'm able to stand up now because I wasn't able to. I was all lightheaded. And I'm going on this track, and I get to mile 81, and I wasn't going to make the time. I was moving slow.
You're behind time.
Way behind.
Okay.
And this is the craziest thing in the world, and I fucking shit you not. I'm in the worst shape of my entire life. Ever. I've never even been close to this. Again. Never. Mile 81, I'm not going to make the time as slow as I was moving. And when your body and mind connect, and I think this is the only time I've ever done this,
okay,
you become a cyborg. I end up running 20 miles at about a 10, 15 mile. And get done with that race. I did 101 miles in 19 hours and 6 minutes. And to this day, and I don't detail it well with you, but in the book I do, I learned more from that 19 hours and 6 minutes than I did in all 3 Hell Weeks.
Come on, my God.
Ranger School, and this is months. Ranger School was 60-something days. Hell Week and all the buds is 6 months. I was in buds for like 18 months. I went through Delta Force selection twice, pull-up records. I learned more in that one race that I wasn't prepared for. That 19 hours brought me from utter misery, happiness, failure, success, depression. I went through every fucking emotion in the world in 19 hours. And you should hear how the race ended. Then I really took a shit on myself. Like, I got in that blue chair when the race ended, and I literally, it just was over. I was in the worst shape of my life. I got in the tub, and they put the shower, or she put the shower on me. The shower was hitting me as I'm laying in the tub in the fetal position. And what came out of me looked like dirt as I'm peeing. It's not even blood. This is dark brown dirt. And I'm sitting there, and she calls my mom, and my mom has a doctor friend over her house. And this guy's one of the best doctors in the country. And he's like, you need to get him to the doctor now. So what I'm about to tell you is going to fuck you up. So I'm sitting there, and I think I'm going to die. And worst shape of my life. And I'm in this tub, and I'm jackhammering, and I have this hot water hitting me, and I'm literally in the worst pain. My shins, my feet, I'm broken. And I'm just sitting, I'm cramping up. And she said, we gotta get you to the doctor. Your mom's worried, I'm worried about, we've never seen this before in my life. And I go, I'm not going anywhere. I want to sit here and enjoy this pain. And I know the listeners hearing this are gonna say, man, you're a fucking nut. No, I'm not. What I got a chance to experience in that 19 hours and 6 minutes of my life was something I didn't want any painkillers. this was proof positive. What I was feeling is what I just did. I did something without training, without coaching, without a cheering staff, without any knowledge. I took a raw human being with no training whatsoever, put him out in a condition, and just through this alone, got through it.
Amazing.
And I sat there and I was like, it was the best feeling I've ever had and will ever have in my entire, I was in the worst pain in my life, and it was the best feeling I ever had in my life. Not because of the pain I was in, but the pain was confirmation of, my God, did I just do that?
Wow.
And I had completed Hell Weeks, but that right there was like, don't take this from me.
Man.
And it was confirmation, proof positive that this young kid that came from shit, that wasn't shit, that lied and cheated I was now the truth.
Golly.
I was now the truth. I was a Navy SEAL. I went through Army Ranger School as honor man. I went through all this shit. I was truth. I became truth. There was no more lie. And what's funny about all that is the people in my life who were in my life when I was bad, and I call it bad when bad. I had a fucked up way to go, man. They're still out there, and they know what the fuck I'm saying. I ain't gonna drop names on them. They want to take me back there. They're mad that I'm here.
Yes.
They want to still make me out to be what I was.
Right, right.
They don't like the fact that they're still where the fuck they're at.
That's right.
They hate that. So on this journey in life, there's a lot of people who are fucked up right now. On the journey, there's always be that motherfucker in the sewer you came from that's grabbing at your fucking ankle as you're leaving that sewer. That's when to drag you right the fuck back down because you figured it out. They're not willing to figure it out. There's not much to figure out. The only thing to figure out is this. And everybody has a different equation. My equation is different than yours. My equation was very different than most people's. And it's not about being sadistic. It was just about that right there was kind of like the moment of my life where I realized, I don't like to say that I've arrived. Because you never want to have that I've arrived mentality because you stop. But that was the moment that I realized that I was the truth.
Man. I've done a lot of shows, but I don't go back and watch them that much. You know, I'll watch them a couple times when we do them. I'll go back and watch and listen to this last 10 or 15 minutes of We Talked About several hundred times. That's the most incredible thing I've heard. I'll just tell you straight up. That's the most incredible, beautiful, magnificent thing I've heard since I've been doing the show. Thank you from me for that.
I appreciate that.
I want to, that's just silly, crazy, awesome. I want to finish on a light note.
Okay.
I was saving this for the end because it's just ironic. So I'm a Rocky fan.
Oh.
But this is going to trip you out. I actually got chills. I was reading about you and prepping because I've known about you for a long time. And like I got to have something in common with this dude,
Right.
I got to have something in common with him. And so Sly's a friend of mine too now, which is really weird, but I'm a Rocky fan, but I'm really a Rocky 1 fan. But not only am I a Rocky 1 fan, I've watched the 14th round.
Oh my God,
See?
dude. Now my chills are coming.
Yeah, I've watched the 14th round of the Rocky 1 movie. I'll venture to say, I can't count them, but it's got to be more than 1,000 times in my life.
Easy.
And so when I was a little boy and all the turmoil in my life and the dysfunction in my family and the things I wanted to achieve, I learned to visualize in my life by watching Rocky. That was my visualization. The fitness part, the training, the overcoming stuff. There's just this little part of me that's like a little mini Rocky in there. It's why I love working out. And for me, it was the way he would take punishment. It's at the end of the 14th when he goes, cut me, Mick, and Mick cuts him, right? So they're going to think we're both just crazy. But what have you watched that a couple times? And what did it do for you? I just want to finish on this because, like, this taught me to visualize and dream. My family's not like yours, but there's no dreaming or visualizations or motive. Motivation or go do something special. There was nothing like that in my house. I had Rocky, and mainly Rocky 1. I'll have them all, but like the Rocky 3 running on the beach scene, all that. But Rocky 1, 14th round at least 1,000 times. What about you?
No shit, at least 20,000 times. Why is that?
Yes.
I've dissected that 2 minutes and some seconds, 2 minutes and 13, 14, 15 seconds, at least 20,000 times. Mm-hmm. When I did the pull-up record, and I finally broke it.
Took you 3 times.
Yep, did 4,030 in 17 hours. I listened to one song for 17 hours, and it was going the distance. Oh my God. 2 minutes and 13, something, 14 seconds.
On a loop.
On a loop. But first, this guy named Nandor, he kept playing out loud for everybody. And I brought my own little iPad. I don't ever listen to music, but I was failing so many times at this record, I had to go to that place. So I said, you know what, I don't want to bore you all anymore.